Right, well, it's absolutely amazing to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, so my name's Jack. No, I don't sound Scottish. I've been up in the church there for 3 odd years now, and it's been great, but it's lovely to come back down to civilization. Sorry, I apologise. They won't let me back now. But it's fantastic to be here. I'm so pleased with it. It's wonderful. And great to continue on this series, The Good Life, where Jesus talks about the important things we need to know in order to live the good life. The greatest sermon that's ever been given by anyone, the lessons from the greatest sermon ever given, and to how to live the way that we're all created to live. And today, in particular, we're looking at the part of this message where Jesus talks about relationships. And Jesus sometimes says in this passage that the problem is the good life and the way to it is narrow. And we often feel like that's something negative and it's something that's going to cost us. Because if something's going to cost us, surely it's something we want to avoid and something we don't want to necessarily step into. But I want to put this to us today, and I want this to be what you take home, that actually the best things in life are rarely free. And if you want to make a difference and to take steps towards living the good life, the right life in your relationships with other people, it is going to cost you something, but you're going to gain so much more. In fact, we're going to go through 5 different points, and as I'm talking, I want you to only focus on one of them, really, whichever one resonates most for you or someone that you know and love. Don't feel like you have to take all of them in, but these are Jesus' words, so something is going to resonate with you. A little bit more about me. I'm a really relaxed, laid-back person. And growing up, cutting corners is basically everything that I did. Going through school, cut corners, A-levels, cut corners, came to university and suddenly found out I could not cut corners anymore, and it didn't work. In fact, one of my teachers at school said I was so laid back, I was practically horizontal. Hardly a glowing recommendation from him. But one day I encountered Jesus at the end of university, and he gave me this passion and a drive and a purpose in my life that has changed, for me, my life around ever since, from being what could have been a wasted life into the good life. But I don't want this all to be about how I've cut corners in my life. I want us all to admit that we've cut corners. I want to drag you all down with me, if that's okay. Look, gentlemen, can we start off with this one? I'm going to pick on you because this includes me as well. You don't have to put your hands up. Ignore any looks that you get from other people here, including your spouse if they're with you. How many of us, for example, when we've been asked to clean the house and the wife goes away, how many of us actually clean to a standard that she would approve of? How many of us clean better when our wife is there looking over our shoulder telling us what to do? Yeah, some honest hands. Well done. You didn't have to put your hands up, but that was great. Parents, how about this one? Sometimes you just don't have the energy to really talk to and go slowly and discipline your kids the way that you should do. Sometimes we like to cut corners as well. And a parent of 3 under 5, the threat sometimes comes out. If you do that again, I'm going to have to call Santa. I'm going to have to tell him what's going on. And kids, because this is something that was true for me, I had what I called a tidy cupboard in my bedroom. And it's an ironic name because when I was asked to tidy up my bedroom, things went into the tidy cupboard. They all went into the tidy cupboard. And the door was shut, and then my parents would come and look around, and I would just hope, despite not being a believer, I would pray that they would not open the tidy cupboard. Anyone else do that as a kid or as a kid now? Don't look at your parents. Don't give the game away. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. So we all cut corners. We all cut corners when it doesn't come to serious stuff. We all take the easy way out. But what about when it comes to the serious stuff? What about when it comes to the important things, the moral choices that we make in life, in particular, the relationships that we have with people? Do we always live the right life in our effort to get to the good life? Because sometimes life does seem easier if we all keep the bar low. But I think we know this. If we keep the bar low and our decisions easy, it seems only to lead to worse and worse outcomes. It's this whole negative spiral thing. You make foolish choices and it leads to foolish outcomes. But we know the opposite is true. I think intrinsically we know that if we were to make wise choices, we would find better outcomes happening. And it's not just us that knows this. It's like God made us. The Bible knows this too. We have this from the Proverbs. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. The more time you spend making foolish decisions, especially in your relationships, the more time you spend cutting corners, the more time you spend coming to harm. The more time you spend making wise and good and costly decisions to yourself, the better the outcomes you will experience in the long run. And anyone who has watched Love is Blind, which my wife loves and I pretend to not love, can tell you this, that nothing will make a fool of you or of the decisions that you make more than your romantic relationships. You see the poor people on the show making terrible decision after terrible decision, and we look at them and we judge them, and if we're honest, we've made the same mistakes ourselves. But it's more than just romantic relationships we're talking about today. It's any relationships. Relationships that make you feel joy and love can help you make the most incredible and encourage you to make the most incredible decisions, whilst at the same time encourage you to make some of the most foolish ones. All the things that we regret probably happen around someone that we find really close to us. And the people that wind us up and enrage us and drive us mad at home or at work, wherever it is, also encourage us to make foolish decisions and to take the shortcuts in life. So how do we live with God in our life in order to try to get to the good life that he's talking about? How do we live in a right life in our relationships? Well, Jesus put an emphasis on this part of his message, and it's this. You have heard it said, but I say to you. He's trying to tell us something really important here that's central to what I'm going to try and talk today about, which is this. There are two roads that we can take when it comes to our relationships. There is the easy way and the low road, where you cut corners and you make foolish choices. Or there is the costly way and the high road that will lead to better outcomes if only we decide to take it. And Jesus starts off with a pretty easy one. Now, I'll be honest with you, the first service didn't do a great response to this bit, so I'm really hoping that you guys can do better here, okay? Jesus started with this as an idea. We don't murder. Can we get some nodding? Do we agree that we don't murder? Yeah, phew. Oh, brilliant. He went and said this. You've heard it said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. I don't know if you want to spend more or less time with the people from the morning service, considering they took a long time to nod and agree with that statement. I don't know. Maybe don't make any of them angry, and we'll be fine. But Jesus said this, a pretty low bar, a really easy one, because we all agree. Don't murder, don't hurt people. It's a really low bar, but Jesus wants to ease us into this idea of a low road and a high road, because he goes on to say this, but I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. Hey, this is serious stuff. And it's not just saying, don't hurt people. It's saying, don't hurt people in your heart. It's saying, don't hurt people with your words. In fact, just don't hurt people, full stop. The low road, the easy way, is just to don't physically harm people. The high road is saying, don't emotionally, don't spiritually, don't hurt people with your words, with your deeds, in anything at all. Do not harm another human being. What does it cost you, though, to take that high road? Because it's going to cost you something to get onto that high road. It's going to cost you this, the chance to get even with somebody that you're angry with. It's going to cost you the chance to get your revenge and the cost of letting go of the satisfaction of holding a grudge. And it's going to gain you a lot. It's going to give you the chance to move on in life and to not let that burden, that person maybe hold you down, not let that anger grab hold of you, and give you an opportunity to live life in a way that you interact with people without harming them. Because just like you, they too are made in the image of God. Next, Jesus challenges people on the topic of adultery. And if you wanted to know why Steve got a guest speaker for this one, you have your answer. He'll tell you it's about the dates. You know, believe him or not, that's up to you. And so we're going to tackle a little bit here the topic of infidelity. And this could be squeaky bum time. We get it. The low road here is don't commit adultery. Don't sleep with someone you're not married to. And I think we can all agree with that one as well, right? We all get it. Although, amazingly in this world, culture and society will do almost everything it can to encourage you to ignore that low bar, that low road, and to go even lower. And Jesus says this, if that's the low road, but I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Anyone that even looks at a woman lustfully has committed adultery in his heart. You'll be pleased to know this, if you're not a Christian yet, this is great news for you, that the good life that Jesus wants to call us to does actually involve sex. It's a wonderful thing, it's a good thing that God created for us, but it's a powerful thing too. We all know of ways that relationships between people and friendship groups and marriage have all broken down because sex hasn't been used appropriately and properly, and that's why God gave us a boundary for it. It's called marriage, because it is powerful. And Jesus isn't just saying here, don't have sex with people you're not married to. He's saying it's more than that. He's saying it's about not just our outward actions, but what goes on inside our hearts as well. I think Christians, we get this reputation sometimes for just trying to do the good things, and maybe it doesn't matter what's on the inside, but Jesus tells us it really does. We've got to deal with what's going on inside our hearts, especially around the issue of lust. And there are 4 problems with lust, and here's what they are. The first is that lust treats the world around you like it's all for consumption. That the people around you that you are lusting after in your heart, even if you take no action on it, are for your consumption. And when you do that, you take something from someone. You take something from someone. Again, whether they know it or not, you take something from someone else when you lust after a person in your heart, and you use that person. When you take something from someone without them giving it in a proper way, you use that person. And when a person has been used like that in your eyes, it diminishes them. That thing that that hole you've been trying to fill with lusting after that person doesn't work, doesn't get filled because that person is diminished. And here's the other sad part of this. You get diminished as well. And I want to take the opportunity here to get serious, because lust affects all of us. Whether or not it is committing adultery and having sex outside of marriage, whether or not it's watching porn, and young men, it's something that I know I struggled with, and it's something that we need to get a hold of and get on through. So it's something we all do, but I can know, because statistics tell us, that there will be people in this room today that are struggling even to reach the low road of don't commit adultery, and are failing even that. And you have to know that that's not what Jesus wants for your life. Because that's a road that only leads to destruction. And when your life collapses in on itself, it's not just you that gets hurt, it's the people around you. Because you keep close to you the people that you love. But when your life self-implodes, it's the people around you that get hurt as well. But there is good news. Because this isn't the life that Jesus has called any of us to. He wants us to live the good life. And if you're not on that road right now, you can still get there. Jesus says this in a couple of verses afterwards. He says, if you're living that way, cut off your hand and gouge out your eye. He's not being serious in terms of literally just cut off and gouge out your eye. He's saying spiritually, figuratively, cut out the thing that is causing you to sin. He's telling us that it's not too late. He's telling us that there is still a way back to the high road, but he's also saying it is going to cost us something to get back onto the high road where life is good in our relationships with people. So cut out the thing that is causing you to sin, especially around lust in your heart. Do what you have to cut it out of your life. And it's going to cost you something to get onto that high road. But it's going to cost you even more in this case if you don't. But what might it gain you to get back onto that high road? It will gain you that integrity, to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know you're doing the right thing. It'll give you freedom from that porn addiction. It'll give you a healthy view on one of God's most precious gifts, which is a fulfilled sex life with the person that God has given you to live with forever. Okay, moving on, because that got heavy. Jesus said this next, but I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond comes from the evil one. what words are you tempted to say to people when you want to show them that you really mean what you're saying? So growing up, I had a friend that would swear every other word, and you knew when he was trying to convince you of something, and normally not true, because he would double down on the swearing, and it was really obvious. But we say other things, don't we? There's those phrases like, cross my heart and hope to die, or I swear on my mum's grave. Whether she's dead yet or not, we say horrible things like that when you think about it, right? Just to try to convince people that we're telling the truth. But Jesus says that the low road here is twisting the truth, playing with the truth, trying to say one thing but get away with what you're doing, trying to not follow through on your words. And the sad truth is this, that when we act that way and play fast and loose with the things that we say, we start to believe and act like our words are cheap, that they mean nothing. Because we're not going to back them up. We're not going to follow through on what we say. And when other people see that we believe our own words are cheap, they begin to look at us and think, well, Jack says that, but he never follows through. If he treats his words so cheaply, I'm going to treat them cheaply too. And I'm not going to take what he says to be true. And even sadder than that, after a while of people believing that your words are cheap, people will start to think that you are worthless too. What might it cost you in this circumstance to take the high road? It might mean sometimes saying no. And for some people, that's going to be really uncomfortable. But it's going to cost you that to get back onto the high road. For some people, it's going to actually cost you your time or money to follow through practically with what you said you would do. It's going to cost you something literally. It might also cost you in terms of your friendship group, by refusing to compromise and go with the flow of what everyone else is doing. But what's it going to gain you? I think if I say the word integrity, we all bring a person to mind who has got an intense amount of integrity that we would love to be like. A person that we know if we ask them for help and they say yes, whether it's a 2 o'clock a.m. Taxi to the airport or whether it's helping you move home, if they say yes, you know that they will be there. You know that they will follow through on everything they say. You know that if they say, this is between us, that they mean that it's between us. And what you say will not go to anyone else. They will keep it with them forever. Wouldn't you like to be that person? Wouldn't you like to be the person that others view with integrity? That's what it will gain you to take the high road and to accept the cost. It might take years to gain that reputation, but to be a person of integrity, you can't put a value on that. Next, we get to another heavy one, and one that would change the world if only everyone was able to take this to heart. Jesus says this, "You have heard that it was said, eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. If anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. If give to the one who asks of you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you." And I can almost hear inside your brains the questions that you're asking, because it kind of goes, but Jack, what if? Because I'm sure Jesus had these questions too from people in the crowd. But Jack, what if myself or someone that I know or I love at school is getting bullied? What if one of my friends is getting bullied? Are they supposed just to turn over and just let it happen to them? Ignore and do nothing? But Jack, like one of my best friends is going through an abusive relationship right now. Are you telling me that they're supposed to just turn the other cheek when they get slapped on the first one? Jack, I've been in a car accident and I'm being sued. Am I supposed to just not give them the money, but give them my house as well? And Jack, I've got people who are financially taking advantage of me. I don't think my grandkids actually care. They just turn up whenever they need some cash. No is the short answer. You are not supposed to just roll over and give up, and that is not what Jesus is saying. Jesus is not saying that at all. There is this ancient law in place, lex talionis, which is where we get our modern word for retaliate. The idea behind this was to limit the clapback. When something gets done to us, we often want to get our own back. We often want to retaliate, and we don't want just to get even, we want to get more than even. When someone hurts us, or actually when someone hurts someone that we love, often our first response is to say, I want to hurt that person back and more. I want them to know it. I know that feeling comes into my heart when people hurt my family. My first instinct, sinfully, is to say, I want to make sure that person knows what they've done to me and feels the same way I do. It's almost like you're trying to handle two kids. This law is about saying we're going to keep things fair and keep it even. And I've got 3 under 5, so these fights happen fairly often, and they can't decide on the last snack, and so they're fighting over it. And so it's okay, we will just split this down the middle and make it fair. Or you can't decide who gets to play with the toy next. We're going to make it fair and split it down the middle. You're going to have a timer, and you can each have equal times. And it's like the law said, we're going to make it fair. Whatever has happened to you, you can do to someone else, but no more. But was it fair when Jesus went to the cross for our sins? When Jesus went to the cross and took the punishment for our sins, was it fair? No. Jesus was a man that didn't just say amazing things, but he lived them out too. It was not fair when Jesus was up on the cross, having his hands and feet nailed to the wood in a manner of death that was torture, deliberately so. But he said something incredible. Rather than what I would do, which would be up there and to call down the wrath of God and ask for lightning to strike down the soldiers that were nailing me to that cross, Jesus said something incredible. He said, Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing. Jesus is a man that can talk the talk and walk the walk. How you react when you get hurt matters. It matters to God, and it matters to the good life you're trying to lead. It's not about rolling over and letting people get away with whatever. It's about not letting pain take control of your actions. It's about asking God to take control over what you're doing, despite the pain that you're feeling. And it's going to cost you. To give up control of your actions that you would love to do despite the pain is going to cost you something. It's going to cost you the chance to get even when you really feel like you want justice. It's going to cost the chance for you to feel satisfied. We talked about that grudge earlier, whether the person knows it or not. It's going to cost you the chance to get even with someone that has hurt you. But what's it going to gain you? You get to get out of a situation and a cycle that would do nothing more than bring you down with it. There is nothing good from following that course of action. There's only good things that come from taking the high road that Jesus describes. A modern example of this is Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow. And regardless of what you think of Charlie, it was awful that he was shot. And I think if I were to stand up in Erica's shoes and to try to talk to people about the man who had shot my wife, I'm not sure I would have said what she said. If I'm being honest with you now, what I would have wanted to say is bring this man to justice, never let him out of jail again. And I want to hurt him as much as he's hurt me. But that wasn't her words. In a real way, echoing back to Jesus, what she said, and I encourage you to watch her part of that memorial, was this. To the shooter, I forgive you for what you've done. And anyone that's able to forgive the killer of their husband or wife is worth a moment for us to go and consider. So on to the last one now. And this is probably the most famous, because it's really easy to say, and we all know this one. Even if you've never been inside a church before, you'll recognize a key portion of this, but it's really hard to put into practice. You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Jesus is telling us that to take the low road is to take an us versus them attitude. To love your neighbor, love the people that are close to you, love your family, your community, your friends, love us, whatever us looks like to you, and to hate your enemies, to hate them. We fall into this attitude of when we take the low road there of saying, as long as I look after us, it doesn't matter what happens to them. But it's also this horrible, slippery slope. Because as soon as you start saying it's about us, not them, it becomes it's us versus them, and it becomes them are out to get us. And so I can hurt them. I can hate them as long as I'm loving us. Or even worse, in order to love us, I have to hate them. What a horrible way to live. And yet, if we stop and take a moment, how prevalent in our world is that sort of thinking? And I know that you're not a room full of hateful people, but I want to challenge you on this. Are there people that you favor? You know, whether you're coming into church on a Sunday morning, whether you're going to your place of work or hanging out in a social group, are there people that you favor, that you gravitate towards really easily? And that feels like a really positive thing, and I don't want to speak down on that because it's great that we've all got friends and family. But the answer is yes. And on the flip side, are there people that you avoid? In your social groups or at work, is there someone that you just avoid at work? You don't go near their desk because they just wind you up? Is there someone that you avoid at church? We're supposed to be a family, and sometimes families fall out. But Jesus tells us that if we're trying to avoid, if we're trying to make it an us and them and get other people into the them category, that's the same as hating the people around us. That's the same in our heart, the same problem that we talked about earlier. When we don't love our enemies, we're not living the good life. We're just taking the low road and the easy way out. And ultimately, why do we hate our enemies? Because it feels good. So much of this is really simple. Why do we hate our enemies? Why do we bear a grudge? Because it feels good. Because when we're a victim of someone else, whether they know it or not, we get to hold a grudge and we get to play the victim in this little scenario that we're making in our head. And please don't think I'm calling out real victims here. I'm talking about situations where we decide that we're the victim, where we overplay some slight and we decide that we're going to play the victim card, because when we do, we become the powerful one in the situation. We become the ones that have power over the person who hurt us, because we get to say, you have hurt me and I will not forgive you. I will hate you until I've got my revenge. And that feels good. So what's it going to cost us, rather, to take the high road rather than the low road? It's going to cost you giving up your victimhood. I know I'm as guilty of this as every single one of us is. Giving up our victimhood, the power that we've gained over someone else that's hurt us, because saying, well, you have hurt me and therefore I am a victim. You owe me something. Giving that up is immediately deciding you're going to give up the hurt and the power in that relationship. But what's it going to gain you? It's going to gain you a chance to move on from the people that have hurt you, to not get caught up in the same things time and time again. It's going to give you the opportunity, when you love your enemies rather than hate them, to suddenly stop seeing people as us versus them, but all as one people, with the eyes that God sees with, as loved by him, and see the world in this different way, and we can begin to live the good life to its fullest. There's this great quote here from C.S. Lewis that I'm going to be ending on. And ultimately, whether you are a follower of Christ or not, by putting into practice today the things that Jesus has spoken about, we will change our lives for the better. In each and every type of relationship we have with people, they will be better and improved because we've decided to take the high road in our relationships to live the right life. But there is a truth that every Christian in this room has accepted. And that's no matter if you're sat here today or you're watching this and thinking, yeah, that's great, but those Christians don't know what I've done. We've all known and accepted something here. That there are people in this church and there's people in the church in the world that have done something worse than whatever you're thinking. Whatever you're thinking, you can't be excused for doing. There is someone in the church that God has already forgiven for what you are thinking have done. To be a Christian is to forgive the inexcusable, because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. We know that all of the things we've done wrong, all the times we've fallen short in our relationships, whether it's lust or whether it's anger, whether it's with our words, we know that it's inexcusable, but we know that we have been forgiven. And so this is a call to Christians to live out that promise there, the good life that is given to us because we have been forgiven for the inexcusable. We are called to forgive the inexcusable in others and love our enemies in a new and costly but better way. God loves you, and it will cost you something to get onto the high road. But he wants nothing more than for you to get there and to not just be in a right relationship with him and the people that you know, but to be in a right relationship with him as well. He wants you to know him and come back to him. And it has already cost Jesus his life to give you this opportunity to regain the high road. So really, is any cost too high? I'm going to pray now and then hand back to the band. Father God, I want to ask for your blessing to be on each and every one of us here today. There'll be something there, Lord, that touches our hearts. Something that touches us and says, I need to do that differently today. And I pray, Lord, that uncomfortableness, you won't just let that go, but you'll cause it to sit and stir in our hearts until we live differently, until we take a costly action to ourselves in order to live the better life. And I pray, Lord, this as well, that for people here today who feel like they've been impacted by what's been said, by your words, Lord Jesus, give them the courage today to talk to someone, to not leave without having conversation with someone that they came with or with Steve or myself. Give them the courage, Lord, to take that first step back to the high road. And I just pray freedom and forgiveness over each and every one of us as we move forward into a new and better life. Amen.
Should we stand?